Healthcare today is under stress. Efficiency and trust in products doing their job is becoming increasingly important. And here, the industry standard tests play an important role. The wound dressing standard tests are here to help us all make healthcare better. They should provide manufacturers with quality benchmarks to strive for and assist healthcare institutions in assessing the performance of the many dressings on the market. But the problem is, today, standard tests don't provide that important guidance. They don't produce clinically reliable results, and this is because they are not based on real-life conditions. They fail to mimic how wounds and dressings actually behave, which leads to the fact that dressings that leak and cause problems in reality can still excel in the lab tests. Let's have a look at how the EN 13726 standard constructs the fluid handling capacity test. This test measures a dressing's fluid handling capacity based on how the dressing behaves when it's fully saturated. However, in reality, a dressing very seldom reaches full saturation. Firstly, because wound fluid seeps into a dressing over time. And secondly, because the dressing is usually replaced long before it becomes saturated. This means that a test performed on a fully saturated dressing measures a capacity that will never be asked for. This lab test also fails to consider the influence of gravity. It measures the fluid handling capacity on flat-laid dressing cutouts. And this setup creates an even fluid distribution throughout the dressing. However, in real-life situations, whether the patient is upright or laying down, the fluid flows downwards and pools at the bottom of the dressing. Here, it also typically leaks. Consequently, this lab test setup produces inaccurate information. A dressing that scores high on fluid handling capacity may still leak when applied to a patient. These examples clearly show that today's standard lab tests are inadequate. Their results are, at the best, clinically irrelevant and at worst, actively misleading. That's why my clinician colleagues and I are supporting Monlika in advocating for a change in the current standard tests. We want to ensure all dressings are designed for real-life conditions and meet the needs of patients and clinicians. And we want institutions to be able to make properly informed purchase decisions. We would like to initiate a discussion on how we all could work together to make testing more relevant to real-world conditions and requirements. Because standard tests matter, just as dressing choice matters.